Hi everyone, it's Victoria here, and welcome to the podcast. Before we begin, I wanted to let you know about the free courses the Victoria Stilwell Academy has available to enroll in right now for dog geeks like you. Just go to vsdogtrainingacademy.com and click the enroll button, and you'll see the free course options. That's vsdogtrainingacademy.com. See you there. On the podcast today is the wonderful Tara Hauser. Now, those of you in the dog world who have met and worked with Tara, you know how incredible she is. And she is because she works with VSA and Positively, and we absolutely love her. She is a dog trainer and behavior expert. She's also a data collector, and this is fascinating. I want her to tell us what she does because she helps dog trainers in their businesses. But the reason why I'm talking to her is not about that. I'm talking to her because she has a Jack Russell puppy. And that's where we just drop the mic and walk away, because then everyone's like going, oh God, why did you do that, Tara? Well, first of all, welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here. We're going to be talking about your pup. But what is your data gathering? How do you help trainers be more successful in their businesses?
So it started with the CSAT program. So that's the Certified Separation Anxiety Trainers. And I've always used Google Sheets for collecting data there.
And Melina is amazing. She is fantastic. That is a fantastic course. We always encourage people to become CSAT. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so when I took the course, there was a workbook that we used. And that if anybody knows Google Sheets, the entire sheet itself is referred to as a workbook. I always get it. Everybody gets confused there. Yes. So we had one, it had a data tracker. So that basically allowed us to keep some data about the client's day so that we could see what could be or not be affecting the dog in their training, because some days they'd have really good days and some days it'd be a little bit harder for them to stay home alone for the small amounts of time that we were introducing. And I developed my sheet to be a little bit more inclusive of data from other things. So I did a lot of charting on the back end, and it looked pretty. I just added color to it and logos and all that kind of stuff. And so we all know her, Lisa Wagner from Cold Nose College, asked me for a copy of that, done for Cold Nose. So I did one for her, and then she led me to someone else. And ultimately it turned into Google Sheets became a software for trainers, if you will. I added a lot of code to the background, and we started collecting very specific data on body language. We had always done kind of a timestamp of the body language, but what I ended up doing, and it was a little bit with Maya's prodding, Maya also is on the VSA team.
Yes.
So she prodded me to make that assessment a little bit bigger and make it so that if we typed bark, that it would record that behavior. And so lo and behold, I took that project on, and we get a lot of great behavioral data, which ultimately I decided, I would love to expand this out to other behavior challenges. And so I started another company to do that. And so now I support trainers in building spreadsheets to collect data so that they can show whether their plans are effective or not. And if it's not working, we can tweak the plan. And if it is, great, we keep moving forward.
So that really helps with a trainer's business, doesn't it? Because they can see what's working and what's not working, and they can make changes if needs be.
Yes. And they can see it very visually. So it's not just looking at notes anymore. We can actually see a picture of what's happening to the behavior, whether it's going up or down, depending on what type of behavior it is.
Yes. And so I guess it begs the question, then how does that help? Which is sort of, I guess, self-explanatory. But can you give us an example?
Yeah. So back in the day, for instance, I was having an issue in my own home with barking. And so what we ended up doing is I created a Google Sheet that all we needed to do was open up the Google Sheet on our phone. We could click a little checkbox and it would record that there was an instance of barking, and then we could tend to it. and we applied some management. We included some additional enrichment and then a quiet cue. And I was able to watch over the weeks what happened to the barking, whether it was actually going down or not based on when we recorded that barking had happened. So it really let me know I was moving in the right direction. So those days when I would get very frustrated because it was loud in my home, I was like, wow, that really is going down, even though, it's still driving me crazy in the moment. If I look at it, we might have had 30% in the beginning and now we're down to 10. That's a huge difference in the amount of barking. And you'll never get that to zero. It's just that I was able to see what we were doing was working. We were not getting the level of barking we had, which puts it into perspective and helps you shift your own mindset from being that frustrated caregiver, who's like, they're still barking all the time, to no, it has improved. I just have to keep working the plan.
So that gave you clarity.
Yes.
You could see that actually things were progressing.
Yep.
Because I think it's really hard for when you're in it to be able to see the changes that are being made because you're so emotionally involved with it. Yeah. And if it is something like barking, you're so sort of continually frustrated with it and annoyed at it.
Yep.
That you might not see that it's actually less.
Yes.
So how vitally important that is. And that obviously is great positive reinforcement for you.
Yes.
What you're doing is working, but also alternatively, if you're not seeing change, well, what you're doing is not working. So then you need to change something that you're doing.
Right.
So then that data supports either, hey, it's going well, or it's not. We need to make a change here.
Yep. And you can quickly make those changes. And the way I build a lot of the stuff that I do, I make it so that when there's a change, it changes the color on the graph. So then I can see this is where we've made a change. And now what's happened to the behavior.
Lovely. Oh my gosh. For visual learners, I mean, I think I would say for all learners, but certainly visual learners, when you see those changes, that's good. It's easy to understand.
Yes.
And I think with everything, that's what it's all about. It's about ease, isn't it? You're building this or have built it to make things as clear and as easy for people as possible.
Yes. And it's all
as
about being
advocating for dogs as well. Sorry, yes.
Being able to see it with ease as the trainer and being able to work with the individual that's in front of you on what will be easy for them. I've had clients that, like, with barking issues, it's like, all I want you to do is get up, go to the fridge and make a mark. I'll deal with the data side myself later. Each day you just draw a line, make your marks, and then we'll just count those marks and put it in. And, just getting them to walk to the fridge to make the mark and not actually deal with the barking help reduce the barking. So, that might have been the only change I made in the beginning. So, and you could see it diminishing. Now I'm like, now if we put management in, we can make real change.
And you've targeted this for trainers. Do you also have it for clients as well?
Clients that I worked with in the past. I don't typically work with clients because I like to put it in the hands of the trainers who are working with the clients, because I want to make sure that it's not a system of just taking the data without implementing change, because then it's like, oh, this just doesn't work. And I never wanted that to be something that happened. And just to clarify, I only work with positive reinforcement-based trainers as well.
Which, of course, is, you have to, we don't want this stuff like the barking to be modified, for want of a better word, with suppressive techniques.
Right.
It has to be a humane way of training.
Right.
Yeah, I love it, Tara. So how long has this been going on for now?
So I guess with this, I started with the CSAT about 21, so about 3 years now, with the more massive workbook that we created. It actually used to be called the Terra workbook. Now it's the Optimized CSAT workbook. And I formed Optimized Dog last year to start working in other behavioral challenges.
And Optimized Dog, if people want to go there right now before the podcast is finished, no, because you've got to listen to what Tara is saying. But if people want to go there, where do they go? What's the best place?
Yeah, theoptimizeddog.com.
I would definitely tell you to do it. Do it, do it, do it. Clarity is so important. And as a trainer, my God, do we not need support? We need support. And I think sometimes when you're in something, it's also very difficult and when you have a lot of clients, it's also difficult to sort of, oh my gosh, I got to remember the progress of this. Let me just check back. So that's clarity. And I think for our profession, clarity is everything.
And one of the things that I really love too is that trainers come up with some really cool ideas to track. And I have inside the workbook now for some trainers that have like done some customizations, there's a mood checker. So a mood checker for the client, so that you're able to then be able to like jump in and help them too when they're struggling, because the data may be telling you one thing, but the client's mood might be telling you another. So it really helps to know on a daily basis, how is your client feeling as well?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm so glad you're doing that, and you are, because, you work for us as well. So we know that your proficiency in that area is amazing. But you got a Jack Russell puppy. What were you thinking?
I don't know what I was thinking, in all honesty. No, I have always loved the breed ever since. I don't know if you could remember, like way back in the day, and I will totally date myself, but PBS had this show called Wishbone.
Yes, I do. Even though I wasn't living here then, I definitely know what you're talking about.
So little Jack Russell, he would like perform, novels. So I just loved it. And one day, I did get a Jack Russell before her, Shimmer. She was a beautiful, wonderful little Jack Russell. And Tic Tac came into my life. I found her in my neighborhood, and she looked exactly like Wishbone. So it was just meant to be. And ultimately, her people ended up giving her to me because, well, she was a handful. And when she passed in November last year, I really did struggle. And I told myself 365 days before you get a puppy, 365 days before, but she had other plans for me. She had other plans for me. And in came Dilly. I ended up going to find a breeder for Dilly. And we're not going to talk about her whole name. So, but I ended up going to find Dilly. And it a lot is because Tic Tac was just such a phenomenal dog for me. And other people would have said there's no way with Tic Tac. She was a challenge from day one, but she led me into dog training, away from computers and into dog training. And so I'm thankful for that every day. And she taught me so many lessons. So that's why I got another Jack Russell puppy. I was a glutton for punishment, basically.
Wow. Now you got her, and I would like to discuss this, Tara, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, you must adopt, don't shop, adopt, don't shop. And I don't buy that. I definitely, we need to support the rescue industry as much as we can, but we also need to support responsible breeding. We want to, of course, I advocate for rescue. And I do a lot of work trying to close down the puppy mill industry. And I don't believe dogs should be sold through pet stores or dodgy internet sites. So we're not advocating for that. But I do advocate for responsible breeders that love the breed and that breed for the betterment of the breed. My grandmother, who I feel like was the first person that truly inspired me with dogs, she bred beagles. And she was more of a hobby breeder, I'd say, but a very responsible breeder. So she knew where all her dogs were going. She kept up with where all her dogs were going. And but that's how I grew up, was around beagle puppies all the time. And we need to be able to, if we don't have responsible breeders out there, we're not going to have dog breeds anymore. I mean, we're not, are we?
Nope.
And so tell me about that. I guess the process for you of how you were like, no, I'm going to go the breeding route.
Yeah. So, I have two dogs that are rescues. I have a Chihuahua that I got her as a puppy, but she came from a less than ideal situation. So, yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what I decided with this dog was, everybody talks about wanting a blank slate. In the dog, we do take in dogs that we can fix them sometimes. And I think when I went out, I was like, I don't want a blank slate, and I want to know the slate, and what I really want is a great slate. And that meant I had to find a great breeder, because I do want her to be a demo dog for me at some point. I do want her to be my companion. I do want to be able to take her to all of the places. And I wanted to see what was possible there, if you will. And so my search for a breeder was, it was a long process. And even when I had thought that I had found the right breeder, I stayed watching their Facebook for a while, and I was watching pictures. And then I found that wasn't the breeder for me. So I had to look again. And as I watched, I was like, oh my gosh, these puppies are amazing. All that's happening with them. She followed the puppy culture program, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
So it was one of those things that I was like, okay, she's going to be exposed. She's going to have all this. She does all of she did a temperament test at the end, which she knew exactly what I was looking for. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But she also did hearing exams. She did an eye exam. She did an orthopedic exam. She was just phenomenal with what she was doing for the puppies, because she's trying to maintain their original British line. So for anyone that knows, that is going to be a very high working dog, Jack Russell.
Oh, yes. Hello.
So after, I followed, I was really pleased with what I saw. So I decided to go ahead and do my application, and the application confirmed everything that I had seen as I went through it. And the more I got into the application with her, the more I was amazed, because she would say, you understand that positive reinforcement is the way to train, and this was after a question like, what would you do if you had a behavior challenge? And I wrote my answer, and then it gets to that, and I'm like, see the last answer that I put, and then it was a question about spay and neuter, and, we won't get into that, but like I answered it. And then what she said next aligned with what I believed. And so we kind of, as I did that, I was like, this is confirming everything. And then we had our phone conversation after that. And that was just, another like huge win. And she's a new breeder. So, that was a little bit tricky for me, but everything seemed to really line up. And she kept me included from day one. I got pictures the morning the puppies were born.
Wow.
I was able to get pictures like pretty much every few days, as long as she could keep up, because she was worn out with the schedule she was keeping. And so, it was a little bit about the look for me. I wanted long legs, so I did search for that. So that limited my breed pool, and I did want smooth coat, so that limited it a little bit more, so it was hard, but I wasn't going to settle on the behavioral side, setting that up to the best you can set up. There is no such thing as perfection, but I felt really good. My puppy was phenomenal when I picked her up.
You did your due diligence. I mean, you truly did your research and found this person. And even when you had found her, you were still doing your research and making sure that she was the right breeder for you. Mm-hmm. And still, even then, you're filling out the application and seeing that this person is exactly who they say they are, and that they are treating those puppies right from the word go, in the way that they need to gradually expose them to living with humans so that they can go on to be more successful adults. Mm-hmm. And again, you can never predict completely how the puppy is going to turn out, but you can give it a damn good try. When people say to you, have you ever come across, and it's different in different countries, and people on this podcast, they listen from all over the world. Has there been any pushback Tara, why did you not get a rescue dog? Why did you get a dog from a breeder?
There absolutely has. I've gotten that question 3 or 4 times, and it's mostly through Facebook. It hasn't been a lot of face to face. And the reality is, I support rescue, tenfold. I do volunteer. I do all of the, I have taken in rescue dogs. And this was just a very personal decision for my husband and I to make, on the basis of Tick didn't have the greatest start in life. And I regret that for her because it affected everything. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get teary. It affected so much through her life. And what we did to support her, I mean, we moved to 15 acres for her because I was not moving to the country. And we did so much to support her. And I really wanted the opportunity for her to be able to look down from maybe wherever she is and go, good job.
Wow. Tara, wow.
Sorry.
No, I understand that. I understand it. And I thank you for being so, so gracious and so open about it. And I know what Tic Tac meant to you. And I have to say with Jasmine, my Chihuahua, she also had a dreadful start in life. We got her when she was 6 years old. And the people at the rescue shelter that we got her from were like, yeah, her former owners, all we know was that they bought her in a cardboard box, shoved the box at us and said, she poops everywhere. We don't want her anymore. And left. And her teeth, especially one of her upper canines, had grown. It was like grown back? Or was it forward? I forget because we had it removed pretty quickly. But they think, the vet said, they think that's where she'd been chewing on bars. So the people said that they had kept her crated. And she came with fear of everything, eating her own poop, which tells me that maybe her nutrition wasn't good enough, or that she was just bored. She had nothing to play with, nobody to play with. So she played with her poop. And she was very reactive to other dogs. She was just an absolute basket of just nerves. It was just terrible to see it. And she's still, even with all the work we've done, she's still a little wary of strangers, but she warms up. She knows that, at least when I'm with mom, nothing's going to harm me. And she doesn't like other dogs coming into her business, but she has a whole load of doggy friends. Mm-hmm. And she definitely didn't eat poop about a month after we got her. That stopped because she was getting enrichment. Mm-hmm. But can I just tell a story, Tara, because I think
Absolutely.
This might, and then I want to learn more about puppyhood and what you've done with her. But my husband, I wanted a bomb-proof dog, right? I wanted to go to the shelter and get a bomb-proof dog because I wanted to take her on TV shows with me. At that time, I was doing the Today Show a lot and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to, and I want to do lots of cool training, maybe some therapy work, blah, blah, blah. And we go to the shelter, and never go to the shelter with your young daughter, ever, ever, ever. Because then they'll look at a puppy and go, what's that one over there? Which was the dog that was curled up in the corner. It was a free run. And so you had lots of small dogs in a run. And there was a little Chihuahua on a little corunda bed, curled up. And she had wearing a sweater with the bunny girl, Miss January, on it, logo. And my daughter goes, what about that one over there? I'm like, oh, shit, Victoria, don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we go to the meeting room and this Chihuahua is brought to us. And immediately this dog opens up and goes straight to Alex, my daughter, and makes this connection. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. So, of course, how could we leave without Jasmine? We brought her home, and my husband, he was involved in the process, definitely, but he was like, okay, so we got this now. And I was like, yes, we do. And a week later, I had to go out, and I gave him all the instructions, and I was like, just be careful about, she's still eating her poo. Blah, blah. So he's looking after her. He he goes to take a shower, puts her in her crate so she's safe, goes to take a shower, comes back, takes her out of her crate, and has her on his lap as he's working. And then she starts to make noises like she's going to vomit. And she does. Into his hand, a massive little ball of poop that she had been eating had come right back up. So there's my husband with this chihuahua with a whole thing of poop in his hand that she's just thrown up. I can't say it was love at first sight, but I can say that every single night and every single morning, that dog wants to be on the bed, and my husband just cherishes his time with her, and she is his, for want of a better word. So, there it is. But the point is that we brought this dog into our home with a whole host of issues. And even though we worked diligently, she's never going to be Miss Social. And she's 14 years old now. She's never going to say, hey, I love every single dog around me. She just wasn't. I had to understand who she was. And that's regardless of whether you get a dog from a breeder or from a shelter or a rescue organization. Yep. So really, I mean, we've both had experience of these dogs who had terrible starts in life and who wore that for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
So going down with a breeder, tell me about Dilly and what life is like with her and what challenges you had. I mean, you're a trainer. You know everything. You know how to deal with it.
One would think that was the case after this many years and all of the schools that I've been through and books that I've read, but that was simply just not the case. No, she is phenomenal. And every morning I get up and I say, she can stay home alone. She's not afraid of noises. She doesn't pull on her leash too much as a puppy. You know what I mean? She is great out in public. She pays attention to me now on the walks. The recall is improving because I always have to set myself up with the mindset that she's going to throw something at you today. And so far, bless her little heart. If it could be eaten on the ground, she will try to find a way. The poor toads, our population has declined significantly. The lizards declined. And latest is the bee population, which I am really not happy about.
Wow.
So we are working on that.
Okay.
But a lot, it's puppy. Everything has to go in the mouth. Everything has to be explored. And it's one of those things that we always talk about management and managing the environment. And I thought I was a really good manager, but apparently not so much. We have been running around like micromanaging our environment, if you will, because I don't want to micromanage her. Like, I want her to explore. I want her to be able to investigate things that are safe to investigate. So we are, learning every day what little changes we need to tweak. So my husband has quickly put lattice in areas and turned up mulch to put in rocks instead, and all of those little things so that she can safely explore without hitting areas she shouldn't be. Because it's not so much that I want to manage her. I want her to be that confident little puppy that tries to get into things. And it's my responsibility to just make sure that I'm able to control those areas that she shouldn't get into, right? And every time she gets into an area that she shouldn't, I'm just like, good for you. No.
Right. Wow. How clever. What a great problem solver you are.
Yes. It's so funny. We got initially, Lorena, who's also on the team, she had this, her golden retriever, I think that's right, inside of one of those clear pens. And I was like, ooh, I love that because Jack Russells are notorious for climb, and I'm out of here. Or jump and climb and get over. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to get that. Everything's going to be so wonderful. It's a Jack Russell. It's not, easy. So I have this nice clear pen and I have her little crate in there. The breeder did a phenomenal job of acclimating her. So she loved her crate from day one and we never really closed it initially because she had her pen.
Right.
So she would take her naps in there. It was beautiful. Until one day she figured out, if I jump on it, I can get to the top. And so we learned we needed to put a little half top over the top of the thing, and it's been so much fun to see these challenges, and knowing I got this, but it required mommy to step up the game. So I've had to really do that, but it has been, so much fun to see her grow and become more and more confident in those ways. And like even my husband today, he looked and he goes, she trusts you so much because she seeks me out. She wants to be by me a lot. And, but not in a, like I can leave the room. It's totally fine, but if I'm there's mommy, I've got to go be with her, which is great for me. I love that. So, but it's one of those things that he was like, she's never had a moment where you've really done anything that in any way made her feel uncomfortable. Because even early on when I was having to take turtle poop from her, it was like, in comes the treats and out goes that.
Right.
So, and that was a new one, for me. I mean, yes, we're always thinking of trading puppies and doing things like that. But this was one that, hey, we have lepto in our area. I have to be very cautious with what's going in this early stage. Oh,
yes.
So that was something that I felt like I have got to figure out a solution for this. Well, you can't control turtles.
Gosh, you can't control turtles, can you?
Nope. And they just go wherever they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Which will bring us to our next major problem.
Which is
turtle poop on the other side of the fence.
Oh.
Elicits the scream.
Oh my gosh, I want to hear this. We're going to take a quick break, but I will be back with Tara in any second. The scream. A quick break here to get a word from this episode's sponsor, the Victoria Stewart Academy. Now, did you know that I have a school that teaches people to be dog trainers? I love It's Me or the Dog and my work as a dog trainer on television, but those of you who know me know that my true passion really lies with helping other people live their best lives with dogs. And I love seeing that truly magical transformation when that light bulb goes off with someone I'm helping with their dog. That's what it's all about. It's the secret sauce that pet professionals like me, who work with these amazing animals, that's what we all share. It's what makes being a dog trainer the most rewarding, enriching job I can imagine. It's why I love what I do. And it's also why I founded the Victoria Stewart Academy, so that I could provide a roadmap to others who want to help dogs and the people who love them learn to do what they love doing at the highest level, that is, to become professional dog trainers. Earning a living working with dogs professionally, it's been a dream of mine for years. And that passion is what drives all of us at VSA to create courses that are specially designed to help adult human learners chase their dreams. Now, most people already know about our flagship dog trainer course, which provides both online only and in-person options. But did you know that we also offer both dog guardians and future professionals a fully refundable 10-hour online course taught by me and other awesome VSA faculty, and it's called the Fundamentals of Dog Training and Behavior course. Now, I know it's not the sexiest name, but it's one of the most dynamic learning experiences available to dog geeks, and it's a pretty awesome first step to see if learning with VSA is right for you. Now, as a Positively Podcast listener, you can use promo code PODCAST right now to get the Fundamentals course for 50% off. That is $150 value. So, take our course. Plus, we also have a couple of free starter courses. They're free, completely free. including a course called Building Your Dog's Confidence, which reveals the secret ingredient to a happy dog life. So, I encourage you to check out VSA today. As I said, we have courses for all levels of learners. So it doesn't matter whether you're a newbie with your first puppy or a grizzled vet already making a living as a pet professional. Visit positively.com/VSA to learn more and enroll in a free course. That is positively.com/VSA. We all want the best for our dogs, whether that means you taking home some key tips for your own dogs or adding the ultimate in professional dog trainer education. Visit positively.com/VSA today. VSA, it is the future of dog training. And now, back to the podcast. I'm back with Tara Hauser. Oh my gosh, we're all on tenterhooks now. I can imagine what the scream sounds like, but okay, so set the scene for us.
Yes.
Turtles.
Turtle
poop.
Turtle poop.
Jack Russell. On the other side of a barrier that can't get to turtle poop.
Yes.
Okay, discuss.
Yes. So this was the first time that I heard the scream. And it was around 4 months, I guess. She's 5 months now. So I think it was 4 months of age. And the breeder calls it baying, and which is what they have to do when they're like going to ground or whatever, when they come in contact. And I was like, oh, there's noise coming out of my puppy. And but she goes outside. She's just sniffing the perimeter, and she finds it. And she just starts screaming. Her brain, I don't know where it went, because mommy didn't exist. Nothing existed except for that on the other side of the fence. And she's reaching through, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to easily get her away from this, because I mean, it was a moment of that drive just kicked in. And I was like, holy cow, I've never dealt with it. And the breeder did a good job. She warned me. She said, this is going to be different. I don't think Tick had this kind of prey drive. And she did not. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Because I don't want to go grab her. I don't know what that will mean to her. And at that moment, I was like, well, she's going to scream for a few minutes, and I'm just going to go get me a shovel, and I'm going to go move that turtle poop. And so that's what I did. And she proceeded to scream the entire time. And then I came back in, and since it had been moved, my puppy finally relaxed a little, and I was like, cool. And then she ran a little bit more, and she found some more. I went, turtles, work with me here. And so it started again. I got the shovel. I did that. And then finally, when she settled, I brought her inside, and I was like, okay, lesson learned. We do have to wear a leash in the yard right now because I'm going to need a way to do this without threatening you, or not threatening her, but feeling like a threat. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I feel if I swoop in and grab her, that's not good.
No, it's not. No.
Not good at all.
No.
So I'm definitely, in that moment, it was like, all right, we're going to have to leash her outside, I knew I couldn't put it on the collar. So here I am frantically, emailing a couple of people. I'm like, is this harness okay for all day wear? And so we've got her now on the harness and the leash. So we're able to move her away if we need to. But we now police the yard and make sure that we get all of that up. But we started working on things. Immediately I was like, this is something that I do have to work on. So everything else, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Like, that's going to take its time. All the behavior stuff that I wanted to train, all of that goes out the window. I don't need to worry about that stuff. I've got a recall that needs to happen in most places, most of the time. It's still no guarantee, but it's getting better. And then I've got to work on fulfilling this need with very limited opportunities, right? Or options available to me. That's the word I'm looking for.
Wow. That's tough.
Yes, because 5-month-old puppies, you can't exercise them the same way you can an adult dog. So I started with the different items that I knew in very small doses, and it's made such a significant improvement. So one of the things that we started with was a flirt bowl. Are you
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. Done a lot of the old flirt bowls. Yes.
Yeah. And but again, those little puppy muscles, the little puppy bones, they're not ready for that type of movement.
Got to be very careful.
Very careful. So a lot of it was about teaching the rules of the game with prey, if you will. So we did a lot of the weight cue. So I'm able to use, so it's like weight's going to be a huge piece. So can I dangle it? Can you wait until I give you a little bit of opportunity to go? So we started with a lot of that type stuff. A little bit of running, a little bit of the chase, but straight lines only. I didn't want any turns or anything like that. And mommy can't run very fast. So it was at a much slower pace for her. And with the good setup from the breeder, she already was manding. So she does do kind of a sit on her own terms, which, because with the puppy culture program, it's not about teaching them to sit. It's about waiting for them to offer. So she was offering that. So she was waiting and offering. So I was able to do that. And then I would give her a chase cue and we'd run with it. And so now we ultimately took it to letting her, as long as you can stand there and look at it, we're good. If I can move it and you can stand and look at it, then I'm still good. And then if the scream started, I just picked the toy up and held it close until it stopped. So we were able to really create this controlled environment so she could learn what I would like her to do instead. So you can sit, you can look at it, you can stand, you can look at it, you can do all of these things, but screaming's going to make it go away, if you will. So with that, in combination of great management in the yard now, we have seen drastic improvements. And then allowing the appropriate chase when I can.
You're not focused on training this out of her, because you are not. She's a Jack Russell. She is going to have that instinct. Yes. But you are understanding it, which is the most important thing. And then you're saying that this dog has needs that I need to fulfill. Now I can't because it would be dangerous for her to completely give into what she totally needs and really, really wants, which is to get to that poop. You just can't do that. But I can give her, for want of a better word, alternatives. I want to give her something that can fulfill that part of her that needs to be fulfilled.
Yes.
And you don't do that by shouting at her. You don't do that by going crazy yourself and panicking and trying to pick her up and take her out and then doing a timeout or anything. You're basically saying, hey, I'm going to teach you a skill. I get it. I know what you need. I'm going to teach you. You can't have that. But I'm going to teach you a skill so that your needs can be fulfilled in a different way, but in a way that I think that you're still going to love. But there have to be rules to this. Because you are living in this environment. You are living in the human world. So we do have to have some rules, unfortunately. I always apologize to dogs. I always say, look, I'm really sorry about this. You are living in confinement. You are doing this. Hopefully, I'm providing you good food and safety and love and a great bed. And that, I am giving you as much as you need. But there are rules that you have to follow by living with us weird humans. Yeah. So once you apologize to your dog and say, hey, I got to do this, then I feel like dogs go, oh, okay. Yeah, you humans, we're just dogs, right? And it's taking you a long time for you to get to the place where you truly understand us. Yeah. But thank you for trying.
Yep.
So I think Dilly's saying, thank you for trying, Mum. I can't help myself. Because this is the best thing in the world. Get a whole stadium. We've just had the Euros, right? Yeah. And England, it's just the football, and England got into the finals. And so we were just gosh, when they got into that, I defy anybody who was in that stadium or watching from home or at the local pub not to have leapt up to their feet and cheered massively when England won their semi-final to get into the finals. And when they kicked their goal, but they didn't actually ultimately win. I would defy anybody just to sit there.
Right.
And sit on their hands and not do anything and not jump up for joy and not utter a sound. Try that next time your team scores a goal or a touchdown or a run. Come on.
Right.
Yet, and so we have to understand that that's her. That's her goal. That's her run. That's her touchdown. And she wants to yell about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're so focused on suppression. God forbid. It's one of the reasons, it's the reason why we're positive trainers, isn't it?
Yep.
Because we're not going to shout and we're not going to say or put dreadful contraptions on them to shock them or hurt them. We're not going to do that.
Right. Nope.
Just as you wouldn't say, hey, mate, come on, and put a shock collar on the person when they want to celebrate that their team is victorious. Mm-hmm. Why are we so focused on doing that with dogs? That's the beautiful thing here. That you're not. That you're saying, I understand you. And I'm sorry that you live with me, which is pretty damn cool that you live with me. And it's pretty cool that I live with you. But there's got to be things that we can follow. But I understand why you want to shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, the frustration is, seeing that frustration in her, it just upset me. I was like, I want, because like I said, we have 15 acres and I have a small fence by my house and then the entire 15 acres is fenced. So she will have freedom on it when we have that solid recall.
Yeah.
And right now she's earned the freedom to carry a long line on the walk. So she's able to run and get that stuff out and she comes when she's called. And I still trust most things, but I'm not quite there to taking that leash off. We got adolescents ahead after all. Gosh. But she's able to run with the others. And I know she sees the others, they're in and out of the woods chasing squirrels or whatever they're doing. And I'm like, girl, you're going to have that. But I need these other skills from you first. And as soon as you give me those, then I can give you all of this. And then she fulfills the need naturally again. And I won't have to be, worried about the screaming. That's going to be all it is. It's going to be fulfilled and that frustration level will diminish. But right now I'm trying to do anything that I can to give her a little bit because it was coming out at the other dogs. It was coming out at Turtle Poop. I mean, it was misfiring in every direction.
Yeah. She was like, hey, look, I know what it's like to be the younger sister. I mean, I know what it's like to be the youngest. We're always trying to play catch up. We see our older siblings doing like great things and like, why can't I do that? Why can't I wear that? Why can't I wear high heels when my mum takes us both shopping and she buys my sister? I mean, we're talking about high heels. We're talking about like inch heels. But why can't I have that? No, you got to wait for that. Damn it. Do I have to wait for it? Gosh. Okay. But then, then I get older and then I can have those 1-inch heels if I want, right? But we have to. And it's you are really understanding what that frustration is, that this is a dog with high drive and she is going to shout it from the rooftops, her excitement, her frustration, she's going to say it. And how wonderful that you have a dog that is not inhibited, that actually she can just go, wah. It's just that you have to like say, okay, that's not going to work.
No,
we're going to have to dial it down, girl.
Yeah.
But you do have adolescence coming up, and adolescence is a time that can be even more trying than puppyhood. Adolescence is a time that maybe people put more checks and balances on their dogs and manage it more and put more leashes and put more this and more that. And we know that adolescent dogs, they need to move more. They now need to be exploring more. They like to get on different heights. They jump up more because they like to it's almost seeking curiosity. We're tall humans. They want to get up and look at our faces and lick us and just, or if they're uncomfortable, they want to see us more and make judgments. And then that's a time in adolescence where like, oh my God, this dog's now jumping up and running away and it's such a complex, but such an amazing time that needs to be celebrated as well.
Yes.
It's scary though, because it's scary with kids, because all of a sudden these cute little things, these cute children that always want to be with you and mama's the greatest. And then all of a sudden you're like, what is that? What is that thing that's all of a sudden like doing all the things that you just thought other people's kids did, but now she's doing it? And then you're like, oh my God, that they've turned into something, I don't know, otherworldly, which is obviously a normal process, but it can be really hard.
Yes.
So how are you preparing for that, Tara?
Well, I'm expecting that 2 a.m. sneak out the window phase to creep in, that the humans experience. But no, so a lot of it is just teaching her what works right now. So the recall and really building that as strong as I can and making that super fun to come back. Sometimes it's a toy, sometimes it's chase mommy, which probably isn't that much fun since mommy is so slow. But also, I have the luxury of having other dogs, so I have a little social facilitation with the recall. So
fabulous.
That is a privilege that I have. And I thank them every day for that. But I am like, my goal right now for adolescence ahead is that I have the few behaviors that I need as solid as I can. Just my weight and my recall are my two biggies, because those allow me to do much. As well as my touch, because I can do loose leash walking with that. I can do everything that I want with a touch. I often say touch and go to bed and stay there. Behaviors for solving most things. So just those few things. And then I'll probably need to up the reinforcer. So we're finding what she likes the most. We're home baking a lot. As long as I have those, I can let my guard down. So one of the things that I've really been working on is mommy not having heart attacks. Things don't go according to plan. So we had her out for lure coursing, just 2 laps, big laps, so that it's not hard turns.
Yeah.
Because that really gives her that chase that I was looking for.
And lure coursing, for people who don't know what lure coursing, can you tell them?
Yeah.
Fabulous,
so
by the way.
It is a little track. It's just a string that attaches some pulleys, and you put a little bag on it. And then you have a remote control, and it goes really, really fast if you want it to, or really, really slow, and you can change the directions. And the dog just basically runs in a circle, chasing that lure. And she was on it. No training needed.
Right.
So, but when we were done with the lure course, getting her back into the main gate was difficult, to say the least. But I took a breath, and I was like, it's 15 acres. There's nowhere she can go. We've secured the fence. The gate is secure. There's nowhere she can go. And we will get her. So we called out our big boy at that point, Diesel, and he's my Aussie, her best friend. And he led her right into the gate for me. So I was very fortunate.
Wow,
but
lovely.
It was this not panic. And I have been doing that. And I have been trusting to let go of the lead. And I have been trusting more of Dilly. Like, I've just been saying, Dilly, you have my trust and I can breathe. Nothing bad is going to happen. And if it does, the vet's just around the corner. So, but it's been a lot of this in order for her to return in adolescence. I have to trust her in puppyhood. So a lot of this for me has been training myself to let go and be able to accept that she won't pay attention to me forever, during that time. There will be moments, and I have to trust that I've given her enough decent boundaries right now that she'll know what she should and shouldn't do, So a lot of it for me is more on me trusting her, gaining trust in her to return now. So like I said, letting go of the leash, taking deep breaths myself, to put that trust into her so she'll have that trust in me later. And then building a really solid reinforcement history with her so that she knows a lot of this good has come through me. it's up to me right now whether I let go of that leash.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's been a lot of, hey, Dilly, can you listen to me on the leash? Because if you can, then I will let go of it for a little while. So it's been a lot of that. So a lot paying every check-in. Like I don't let a check-in not get paid right now. So if she looks at me, I say, good girl. If she comes back to me, something fun's going to happen, whether it's food, whether it's a chase, whether it's a toy, whether it's being able to go play with her big brother. All of those things are happening now to prepare for adolescence, because I feel like if I trust her now, she'll trust me through that to the best that she can. But I also know that's her time to grow in confidence by exploring. And if I don't let her explore and do that, she's not going to be the confident pup. I mean, we see children, all the time that can't make decisions for themselves because parents made decisions all along. And I feel that way with dogs. I need her to make the choices. I've just set her up for the right choices.
That disconnection, it's a disconnection process. It's normal. It's natural. It needs to happen. It means that the adult can go off into the world and fend for themselves, whether it be dog and or human. But it is really, really hard. And as a mom that is wiser in many respects and has more, just worldly wise, has more experiences to fall back on. We know the dangers, we know, and sometimes that makes us maybe a little bit too controlling, or it makes us definitely worry a lot. And for me, with now a 20-year-old, I still worry. I mean, do you really have to drive that far? Or maybe somebody can come drive with you, or maybe I can drive with you. And then, I mean, come on, really, she's 20 years old, but I still have that, like, oh, I need just to make sure she's okay. But we do have to start letting go, and we do have to parent correctly so that we are not stopping that adventurous spirit, that curiosity, that ability to move, to be physical, to experience the world around them, and to grow in confidence. And it is a very, very specific, but a difficult dance to learn the steps. So I love the fact, Tara, that you have given her such a solid foundation, that it's been a massive learning experience, and you've been very open with the fact that it's been a learning experience, and the fact that there are going to be things that test you and you're going to go, oh my goodness, great problem solver. What the hell do I do now? And then you're having to think and think. I think it makes you an even better trainer. I think it also helps you understand clients more and what your trainers are going through more. Puppyhood is such a wonderful time. Adolescence is such a wonderful time, but it can be challenging. And my goodness, okay, I feel very fortunate because I meet with you every week, and so that we always hear about Dilly's progress. But if you had maybe like 2 or 3 tips for people that are in your similar situation, or thinking about getting a puppy or have a puppy and are like, I don't know what to do, what would those be? What would your most important things be?
Number 1, don't forget that trainers are there for you before you even have the puppy. So I did my research to find the right puppy for me. And that could be in rescue, or that could be through a breeder. But reach out to a trainer in your area now before you even get the puppy. So if you're thinking about it, that's the first tip that I would have. If you already have your puppy, trust that your puppy knows how to be a dog. That's the first thing. You don't have to tell them. I think, who was it that we just had? Sindor. She said, I don't have to teach that dog how to be a dog. Yeah. So it's going to come with the skills to be a dog. It just doesn't know how to live in our human world. And that's our job. Our job is to parent them and show them and respect who they are as a dog and give them their outlets. So just like I had to do for Dilly, you may have to find something for your dog, your dog that's in front of you. If it's a retriever, you may have to teach them to retrieve the right things, not your shoes. So, and then remember, it's about managing the environment. And if you need to micromanage the environment and not the dog. I always hear running around, no, or go get them, pick them up, move them to another area. Instead, change your environment so that the puppy's not accessing the things you don't want them to access. That's one good thing. We have not had chewing problems. We have bone buckets. Bone buckets are your friend. That's another thing. If you are able, the bone bucket is having that present at all times.
And what kind of things do you put in the bone bucket?
So I have every kind of chew imaginable. We have the Nylabones. We have the beef hide. We have the bully sticks. And the bully sticks are all, in fact, all of the chews that are thin pencil-like are all in bone holders so that she can't get down to the nub.
Right.
So that would be the one thing. I have the little Yeti stuffers where you put the Himalayan cheese and it expands up in there. So there are so many different kinds of chews and bones that are out there. We have cow ears, we have lamb ears, we have it all. And it's just one big bone bucket. And she can pick what she wants, and we usually have to pick them all up at night. I joke that it's like having kindercare in my house, but have plenty of options because they are teething. And we have not sacrificed any furniture legs or anything because of the bone bucket.
I really like that. Still, we've had Jasmine now for 13 and a half years, and our kitchen, still the island of our kitchen, the bottom of it still bears the tooth marks of our little puppy girl. And we haven't changed it because basically we haven't wanted to, because that's our puppy girl. Yes. Right? Well, but she definitely went through a phase, and we provided her with a lot. And sometimes she was able to get to the island and have a nice little chew. And there you go. I mean, but I really love the idea of the bone bucket. And so that's just that your pup can go to when they want to satisfy that very, very important need. Tara, again, if people want to find out more about the work you do with data gathering, where do they go?
theoptimizeddog.com.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. What I'd like to do is in maybe another 4 months, get you back on the podcast, because you're about to experience adolescence, and I'd be really interested to hear your experiences with a dog that was bred from an English line that is bred to be really essentially a working dog and to do the things that Jack Russells were bred to do. So you'll hopefully still be sane by then.
If I've survived this long.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us. I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
That's the end of another fabulous podcast from all of us here at Positively. Have a fabulous time, and we will see you again. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively podcast. For Victoria's online dog training courses, more information, and helpful dog training tips, visit Victoria's official website at positively.com. Get connected on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media as Victoria Stilwell, and follow her on Twitter at Victoria S. Learn to become a professional dog trainer with the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdogtrainingacademy.com. And be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps you and your dog live your best life together. Positively.